They've said AI is going to change the world more than electricity, more than the internet did. It took 7 years for 100 million people to use the internet. GPT took 60 days. So everything's moving much faster. The adaptation of it, much faster. Every time technology comes, those that are agile and adapt typically fare much, much better. You can survive and still ignore it, but it's like a plumbing company that doesn't have a website and doesn't use internet advertising. Might not be as robust of a business, right? This is what I was talking about while introducing Jim, is that if we could look forward in the future, it's going straight up in front of us in terms of the exponential curve. Ken Wilber is a philosopher. He wrote a book called The History of Everything. And in that book, he says everything goes through 3 stages. There's immaturity, adolescence, and maturity in nature, with human beings, processes, companies, many times. And for me, going through AI and figuring out what to use it for, I might be on a similar path to a lot of you here in the room. So I wanted to share this so you could create your own tools, use our tools, and kind of see how I view those stages of adolescence with AI. So a lot of people have a CRM and they do smart things where they say, oh, let's send an email to 30,000 people. And now let's only have our team call the people who clicked on the link, or let's only call the people who opened that email. And now you're only calling people who just clicked on an email from you in the last 45 minutes. So they're more likely to call you back or more likely to reply to your email that you know they already read this morning, right? So that's just using tech. That's not AI at all. That's where a lot of companies are, or can be very easily these days. The next level, where over 50% of us are, is using these LLMs. We had DeepSeek was released the night before our New York City event that we hosted at Pace, thanks to John Laterra. But a lot of you probably have been using ChatGPT. Grok 3.0 I found to be the most advanced now since that one came out. It's been the most useful. But this is what a lot of people are using. And it's kind of a base level, kind of immaturity level of using AI. What we tried to do then to put on a really good mastermind is try all these different AI tools out there. But it turns out a lot of them don't work as prescribed, are beta mode, or just trying to get critical mass of users to test out and get things dialed in. And almost none of them are built for people raising capital or built for investors. There's very few tools out there probably that you've found that are hyper specialized to you and you're using besides LLMs, if you're like me. A lot of them just are complex to set up, or they don't really do what they promised they would do, and then I cancel the trial a day after trying and say, oh, there's no way I'm recommending this to our investor club. One we do use is Firefly, so we transcribe all of our phone calls. We can look at sentiment, how long the person talked versus listened, how many questions they asked, what their longest monologue was when talking, and we can look at our best salespeople and see how that went, like how their calls went. We can also have a new member of the team read over transcripts of calls that led with a one-call sale that was made. And just having that big data to be able to look at over time, I think is going to be super helpful for our team. So Fireflies is a cool AI tool. We use Vizard to take one video, chop it up into YouTube shorts and create smaller videos. That's really helpful for putting content out on social media. Super cheap tool. We mentioned this at the mastermind as well. So I love things like that. They're just super practical. But what I found is that a lot of them are not dialed in to you and I as founders and investors. So we've developed these 5 tools. We have another one that's live that built this weekend, but it's kind of in beta mode. And we built an internal tool that's not on here. So I'm going to go through each of these real quick. This first one, we've already gotten feedback that it saved our investors hours and hours of time. So Dewey is basically an AI tool that has been trained on 100 plus due diligence checklists and white papers. And it's the equivalent of hiring somebody and saying, go read these 150 white papers, keep them all in your brain, and I want to text you night or day anytime, and within 30 seconds, I want you to digest a 50-page pitch deck and tell me red flags, things that are missing, is the valuation off possibly, what questions I should ask, and if you're in the middle of due diligence, explain to it what you're doing, what you're worried about, and then ask it what else you're missing. What are other red flags? What are more questions I should ask? How many times during due diligence as an investor have you had to ask the other party who's selling you something, what else should I be asking? You know, but all of us have been there before because we're not an expert on porta potties or cemeteries or dry cleaners or whatever it is that the private equity firm's focused on, right? And how many people have invested in something and you did not honestly read every single word of that 144-page PPM? And if by some miracle you did, you fell asleep on page 89 and you didn't know what 10% of the words even meant, right? And so you can read it. You should read every word. You should consult a real-life attorney, a real-life forensic accountant, if you're putting any real money into something. But also, you could have Dewey read the 144-page PPM, say, what did I miss? What are the red flags? What's left out here? What should I be worried about? Why not have a second AI brain looking at it? So we call it Dewey, and I think it's a super practical use of AI because it's not replacing a human. It's like, you should also be doing this. The best chess player in the world plus the best AI system at this point is the best combination. Eventually, I think AI will be better than any human looking at it, but we're not quite there yet. We have also figured out a couple ways to license this. If you run a platform, a community of investors, and you want to clone what we have on Dewey and then rebrand it, add in special formatting and special process for your investor club or platform, and you want to work together in a way like that, pretty easy for us to do that, and you can leverage the couple hundred hours we've spent on AI. But if you're a member, you get access to the Dewey tool just as a member. There's no extra cost to do that. We have unclicked the button that shares conversations with the GPT brain. So in theory, GPT is not sharing things you upload. But Microsoft Office, Google, when you write a Gmail, are they scraping our data and reading things when they promise they're not? I mean, who knows with big tech companies? So obviously, you just have to be eyes wide open about such things. The second tool here, Billionaire Collective Intelligence. What we've done is interviewed 45 billionaires so far. We've found 60 infographics on data on billionaires, but more importantly, we've found 986 talks that billionaires have given publicly. And we took the obnoxious job of transcribing 986 public talks and fed all of that into the AI tool. So you can have conversations with, present your challenges, your opportunities, your scaling strategies, what's going on in a negotiation, and get feedback from the collective wisdom of everything that billionaires have said publicly on the internet that's been recorded that we could find. And so by doing that, it's really interesting because when it answers, it'll quote the exact billionaire. So you're not just getting random advice and hoping it's smart. You can really know, oh, my advice is coming from the founder of Starbucks, or my advice is coming from Mark Cuban, or, you really hear who the advice is coming from in the exact quotes many times of what they said. So this tool is just kind of interesting and helpful. And we ask it some questions that I'm just kind of curious about as I'm going on a walk, exercising, et cetera. Then I'll bounce it off this tool. The advantage here is an LLM is muddled by everything on planet Earth that gets uploaded there. It scrapes Wikipedia, it scrapes Quora, it scrapes all types of information. So the advice it's giving you is muddled by the average IQ on planet Earth and everyone using it. If you have an LLM that's only used by heads of family offices, it's going to be super specialized to the brain, intelligence, and thoughts of family offices. This one is super specialized to the thoughts and patterns and mental models of billionaires. And Munger says we all need to collect 100 mental models. This is a way to bounce your models off of billionaires' mental models. So this is a fun one to play with. The next one is something that's related to our panel tomorrow. You can upload any pitch deck, and within 30 seconds, based on 20 criteria and the 7 discussion panels we've done rating people's one-liners, it will digest your pitch deck and spit out 7 one-liners that are structured with 1 to 3 statistics mentioned, with unique, compelling offer that fits the criteria that we say on stage you should be fitting. And we do it in 12 to 15 words, and it gives you 7 options. And if you tell it, I really liked option 2 and 3. Give me 7 more options that sound like 2 and 3, but also include the fact that we've been in business for 17 years, et cetera. Then it will give you another 7 options. So you see when we do the one-liners on stage, almost no one has a good one, and the investors all tell them that. And these are people who offered to submit their one-liner. Many people don't have one, or they know theirs is so bad they don't want it on the big screen. And so this is a tool I just thought would be super helpful for everyone in the club to use. Investors want you to be able to say succinctly exactly what you're doing and not say the same thing that everyone else says. This next one is one that's kind of in beta mode. But essentially, as long as you have the person's permission, you can take the person's first name, last name, company name, and what city they live in. And if you don't have their company name or some of those details, it's not the end of the world, but it's more accurate if you do. And then it basically replicates, if you spent 15 minutes poking around on Google and you search the person's name and add the word scam or Ponzi scheme or fraud or FINRA or SEC or conviction, or look at public data sources and what they've said publicly, this will tell you likely personality profiles looking at like StrengthsFinder, et cetera, but it'll also tell you any red flags. And if it doesn't find anything, it's not a background check, right? It doesn't replace a background check. It's just like when you're going into a meeting or right after a meeting, you ask someone if you mind if you run this, and you can instantly get a report on someone very quickly that otherwise would have taken you poking around on Google for several more minutes. We have an internal version of this tool that Vanessa and Rachel on our team are using for vetting investors to speak on stage at our events, and it helps us get to know them very quickly. Investor Advantage is us taking the transcripts of all the investors who have ever spoken on stage at our events that we've recorded, transcribing all of those, all of our 1,100 YouTube videos, and basically all the content that our company's developed, and then feeding it into the brain of this AI tool so that when you're asking questions against it, it's like you're asking for advice against all the people that have been speaking on stage at our events all these years, so that you can get feedback on structuring deals, doing joint ventures, raising capital, feedback on your capital raising plans, feedback on doing joint ventures with publicly traded companies. If you want to start working with pro athletes, feedback on that. We've had dozens of heads of other investor clubs on stage, can give you advice on that. So I think you get the point. This one, we have all the raw data for. I need to configure a few more things on the back end, but I decided to build these myself and not outsource it because I know what our members probably want. And if I build it so it's super helpful to me selfishly, then I think it's going to be really helpful, likely to most of you who are founders as well. The last one here, so I can let everyone go and have fun networking like it sounds like other people are out there, is this pitch deck success score. So what we've done is taken this AI tool where you upload your pitch deck and it will rank it and score you based on 25 factors and suggest some things you may want to change in your deck. It's a reason it's called artificial intelligence. All these tools are going to make mistakes sometimes. They don't replace like a real human looking at it. But this can give you ideas on what you might need to improve on your pitch deck instantly without having to maybe go through a consulting process with somebody, et cetera. So as long as you're a member of a family office club, then we're happy to give you access to that. So those are the tools that we've built. And it was a relatively long day, but at the beginning of the day, one of my top pieces of advice was to stay in the room. So I'm glad that you listened by being here. And I hope you enjoyed the fireside chats and all the discussion panels. Tomorrow, we're going to have another strategy session fireside chat with $1 billion plus family office. We're going to have 5 discussion panels on stage. We're going to have a few standalone presentations. And then I'm going to share, after interviewing 45 billionaires, what are 7 mental models that are core and found most common across all the billionaires that I've interviewed and across the 120 books that I've read that are authored by billionaires. And they're things I'm paying really close attention to and how we scale our business going forward. And thank you. If you are a founder, raising capital, developing real estate, or you're an investor, would love for you to get involved in the Family Office Club. I've run this community for 18 years now. We've hosted 300 live events. We have 17 million social media group members and followers. We have the #1 YouTube channel on family offices. We have the #1 most popular podcast on family offices. You can learn more about us and our membership options at familyoffices.com. We have 30 in-person events planned in 2026 and another dozen events this year. Please go to familyoffices.com to learn more.